bring it back, 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 bring it back.
Hello and welcome to another episode of NRL Rewind. I'm Phil Whitehead and we are closer than ever to the 2011 Grand Final with only one weekend to go before the big day. Only 4 teams remain in contention, and I'm going to go ahead and say right off the top of the show that, in my opinion, the best 4 sides all year are the ones still in with a chance of winning the premiership. Only the 2 games to look back at from last weekend, so let's go ahead and get started with that with the weekly wrap. A stunning 78th minute try from Krisnan Inu sealed a remarkable 22-20 win for the Warriors over the West Tigers in Friday's semi-final at the Sydney Football Stadium. Inu somehow managed to get the ball over the line after Sean Johnson's bomb bounced off Lottie Takiri and the former Parramatta centre got the ball down while lying on the ground in front of the despairing Tim Moulton. The result ended a run of 9 consecutive wins for the Tigers, who led the whole game until Inu struck, and were comfortably in control at half-time, leading 18-6. New South Wales prop Keith Galloway opened the scoring on the 15-minute mark for the joint venture with his first try of the season, barging over a helpless Kevin Lock as he made his way to the line from close range. Benji Marshall then doubled his side's lead, latching onto a quick pass from Robbie Farah and sidestepping Lewis Brown and Akuma Ta'ai to touchdown before kicking his second conversion of the game. However, the Warriors would see their first real attacking opportunity produce points, as some good awareness from dummy half allowed Kevin Lock to set up James Maloney to score under the posts. The visitors then enjoyed their best spell of the half, but with the ball just 5 metres short of the Tigers' line, Johnson lost possession and Blake Ayshford broke downfield. Robert Louis then kept the ball alive superbly and skipper Farah darted over to score 5 minutes before half-time. The Warriors started the second half well, with Feleti Mateo crossing the line after 10 minutes thanks to an outstanding Johnson short ball. Maloney's conversion closed the gap to 6 points, only for Marshall to extend his side's advantage 6 minutes later with a close-range penalty goal, awarded after a contentious penalty against Locke. But when Lance Hohaya scrambled over for his 8th try of the season, Maloney would this time bring the Warriors within 2, and the scene was set for a nail-biting finish. Johnson's high bomb caused havoc in the in-goal area, and Inu stunned the Tigers and most of the pro-Tigers crowd to set up the clash with the Storm for a place in the grand final. Warriors coach Ivan Cleary paid tribute to his side's battling qualities as they bounced back from last week's 40-10 hammering by Brisbane in superb fashion. However, Cleary seemed acutely aware of his side's place in the pecking order as he quipped that Russia versus Namibia in Rugby World Cup would receive more headlines than this win. Moments after appearing to be down for the count, Brisbane's Darren Lockyer picked himself up off the canvas to deliver the knockout blow to ex-mentor Wayne Bennett's St George Illawarra in a Golden Point Finals thriller on Saturday night. Lockyer was left sprawled on his back at the 70th minute after teammate Gerard Beale's knee collected the skipper in the face while attempting to defuse a bomb, but the retiring great would dust himself off to pot over a wobbly 82nd minute field goal to seal a 13-12 win for the Broncos and abruptly end Wayne Bennett's Dragons tenure. Lockyer still appears in some doubt for next weekend's preliminary final against Manly after having surgery to insert 3 titanium plates in his cheek. It seems likely that he'll need to ignore the advice of medical staff in order to take the field on Friday. Remarkably, his heroics extended Bennett's losing finals record at Suncorp Stadium to a staggering 0-8 tally. In contrast, the Broncos sealed their 8th straight victory to give them their best chance of winning a title since 2006. The Broncos dominated first half but only had a 6-0 scoreline to show for their efforts thanks to some Herculean resistance from the Dragons. Lockyer peppered them with bombs and continued to take on the line in attack. However, the soon-to-be retiree only managed to crack the line in the 15th minute. His sublime inside ball let back rower Ben Teo crash over before Corey Parker converted to get the hosts off to a dream start. Parker then kicked a 48th minute penalty to make it 8-0, and it looked like smooth sailing for Brisbane. But the Dragons were breathing fire when interchange forward Adam Cuthbertson pounced on a Michael Wayman pass to cross in the 55th minute and cut the deficit to 8-6. The Broncos appeared to have sealed the result when Dale Copley went over in the 67th minute. However, the Dragons kept coming and Darius Boyd scored in the 78th minute, Jamie Soward's clutch conversion sending the match into extra time at 12-all. There was a touch of Hollywood scripting about the conclusion to this match. Time will tell if the same is in store for the conclusion of Darren Lockyer's career. With only the 2 games last weekend, it was difficult to find anything to put at either end of the spectrum, but for my performance of the week, I've gone with just the overall spectacle that was the Saturday night match between the Broncos and the Dragons. It was one of the best games that we've been treated to as fans for a great while, and this match really had everything. The Broncos showed a great level of skill and prowess in attack. The Dragons defended brilliantly, heroically almost, in being able to repel set after set on their own line. And the game, appropriately, I felt, went to golden point. It was the sort of match that you didn't want to see it end. It was tight the whole way, and Darren Lockyer, his fairy tale farewell tour continues for at least one more week, as he himself was responsible for getting the Broncos over the line with a field goal in extra time. On the other side of the coin, we have the refereeing performance on Friday night. The combined performance of Jared Maxwell and Shane Hayne, which was absolutely shocking. And if you're going to say anything about these two, it's that they were consistently terrible in relation to both sides. It was one of the poorest exhibitions of officiating that we've seen all year. And in the last 10 minutes, it really almost threatened to derail the charge of the Warriors. Thankfully, their ineptitude didn't end up preventing the right team from winning the match. They were the better side, the Warriors, particularly in that second half, and they thoroughly deserved their victory. But it's beyond me how that pairing of Hayne and Maxwell could possibly rebound from such a bad performance to be given the grand final qualifier between Brisbane and Manly when someone like Gavin Badger is sitting on the sidelines. It seems that every man, his dog and his newspaper columnist has had his say about the Darren Lockyer issue and whether or not the injury that he sustained against the Dragons should keep him out of the grand final qualifier against Manly. I don't believe for 1 second that it will. I think he's the kind of player that you'd need to saw off both his legs to keep him out of a match of this importance, and given that every match that he plays could be his last, of course he's going to naturally want to prolong his career for as long as possible. I'm not going to be one of those people that I've read about and heard in the last couple of days who are going to turn around and say, we want Darren Lockyer to play because we want T-Rex to smash him and we want him to regret having taken the field with the injury. To me, that attitude in and of itself is barbaric and nothing at all to be proud of. I honestly believe that a player of the stature of Darren Lockyer, who's contributed what he's contributed to the game as one of the greatest players that we're ever likely to see, and without question a future immortal of the game, has the right to be able to go out on his own terms. Now, if that involves defying doctor's orders and playing when possibly he shouldn't, then so be it. You have to be able to look at a player like Darren Lockyer and say, it's the very least that he deserves to be able to determine his own destiny in regards to his career. Regardless of what happens, whether he plays or not, he's going to be remembered as one of the all-time greats. As a fan of the club that he's going to be potentially playing against on Friday night, I'd also like to see him play because if he's ruled out, it lessens the achievement from the Sea Eagles in terms of having beaten the Broncos to get to the grand final. It's very similar to the potential situation that Manly found themselves in the 2008 grand final when Cameron Smith was ruled out. Cameron Smith, of course, being Melbourne's best player, ruled out of the grand final, but Manly came out and won 40-0, which basically dispelled any thoughts that had Cameron Smith played, the result would have been different. If Darren Lockyer doesn't play on Friday night, Manly will have to do a similar thing in order to really justify and to quell any talk, and there will be plenty of it throughout the media and opposition supporters, that we wouldn't have made the grand final if Darren Lockyer hadn't been injured. So if he's in the match, he's going to give his typically solid performance. Ultimately, he's been a fantastic player. I hope he plays on Friday night, and I hope that his career comes to a dignified ending at the hands of the Manly Sea Eagles. With only 3 games left in the entire season, it's getting quite difficult to look too far forward to produce a fearless prediction. And I don't even think that this time around my prediction is that fearless. I'm going to say that the grand final this year will be a contest between the Melbourne Storm and Manly Sea Eagles. And whilst I can hear a lot of you groaning that this is going to produce a boring grand final, they've been the best 2 sides all year and thoroughly deserve to be there on the last day of the season. Having said that, I will also go a step further and say that both semi-finals will be determined by less than 4 points. I think the Warriors will ride a wave of confidence having beaten the Tigers And they are a side that really thrives on confidence. I think Melbourne will have just a little bit too much for them, as will Manly just having a little bit too much for a very, very highly skilled and determined Broncos side. And that'll wrap things up for another episode of NRL Rewind, with just one left to go before the grand final, and then of course the post-grand final special. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube account. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're so close to the grand final, we can just about taste it. I look forward to next week already, and see you then.